Well, hello, and welcome back to another scary edition of Ghost Stories Told from the South. I am your host, Stephen LeBooth, and I got some skele stuff for you today, boys and girls. Alright, I'll quit being a creepo there. How the hell is everybody? Hope you enjoyed that last episode. Like I said, I'm doing back to back ones, so you'll have this one today too. And today the numbers are doing great for being a Monday and everybody having off. Sure are a lot of people listening today. Just say thank you. I would just want to say thank you. The numbers are just awesome. I love them. It's if I see a little bit of percentage of me getting bigger and bigger, hey, that's a plus. I love it because, like I said, I do self promoting and all that. I don't make a dime off of this podcast, so maybe eventually I will someday. But that's where you guys fall in. I need to get more of the followers and downloads. But that will come in time. I'm a very patient boy. Anyways, just thank you so much, and to everybody around the world who's listening, man. I've noticed in New Zealand, the UK, Canada, Spain, and I'm probably leaving out a country, but them guys, excuse me, are really downloading and loving the show. So thank you over there from across the pond. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. So today, like I said, I got some stories that I should have read on the last episode, but I'm going to finish up that, and then I'm going to start it on, if I have time, on some of these, camp stories, campfire stories I got for you. But without further ado, let's get this sucker going. Go get you a nice warm blanket. Cuzzle up by the fire. Get you some hot cocoa or tea or coffee or whatever you like to drink. And let's go over some scary stuff, man. Okay, all these are kind of like little short stories. So here we go. We're going to start out at the old Prosquil is Isle Lighthouse. Constructed in 1840, the old lighthouse was the first lighthouse in the Proscuous Isle area. Although only operational for 31 years, she still has plenty of ghost tales to be heard. The most famous of this story is that of George Paris. George Paris was the keeper of the lighthouse after it was decommissioned. He and his wife took care of the grounds in the lighthouse for tourism purposes. George died in 1992, leaving his wife Lorena to tend to the grounds where every night since his death, the amber light at top of the tower glows from dusk until dawn. The wiring was removed from the light, and in 19 and, oh it, the wiring was removed from the light in 1979. Could this be George? Many think so. In fact, one little girl who was visiting the lighthouse was giggling up at top of the tower, and when her parents asked her what was so funny, she said there was a man up there making her laugh. George loved children, and later she identified the man as George Paris after seeing a photo hung up in the museum in the lighthouse. All right, that one was pretty cool. All right, now we have the Thunder Bay Theater. Another location right in the old town district of downtown Alpena, where the history of the buildings runs centuries old, is the Thunder Bay Theater. The Thunder Bay Theater is not well known for being haunted, but the actors and the production crew know better. There is said to be the ghost of a young girl named Angie that roams the building. Angie was well known for being more mischievous than perhaps than okay. She was being more mis- mischievous than other ghosts. Sometimes actors would be looking for specific costumes, or props without any luck, and then the next day they would be there. They would be there in all too early obvious place. So basically, they'd go look for something and it wouldn't be there, and then the next day it'd be right there, obvious, like hey, it's right there. They also say that Angie is most more apparent if you are a non-believer. In other words, she will make a believer out of your ass. Okay, we got our next little shorty. Our next one is Ghost Village of Bell, located in the Browser Bell Natural Area. The ghost town holds evidence of occupants with a small cemetery. Sorry. Oh, that's the dogs under the table. A small cemetery where villagers are buried. A remaining chimney, some collapsed walls, and a bronze decayed plaque. People claim these lands are haunted by the spirits of the Native Americans, perhaps the people of Bell. Care to find out? Come see the old ghost town of Bell and make your decision. All right, I told you some of these are short, some of these are long. So let's get with the next one. The next one is Scared Rock. Located just 6 miles north of Hoffett Park outside of Rogers City, there lies a giant boulder measuring 6 feet tall and 12 feet wide. One legend has it that before the rock was there, two rival Native American chiefs were in a constant squabble over hunting lands and territory, with one chief being more aggressive than the other. The chiefs would eventually meet at the boundary line where the rock is now and continue to bicker, causing the Great Spirit to become so upset that he threw this giant rock down upon them, ultimately crushing and burying them both. Some say the earth still shudders on the shores of Lake Huron today. Another legend states that the territory lines and while wait that the here we go. Another legend states that the rock was in place while the two native chiefs were bickering over territory lines while they were having their usual dispute among the rock. The great chief spirit cast down a bolt of lightning, killing both Indian chiefs. Now some say that when it rains, the blood from the dead natives can be seen on the rock. However, you have seen the rock bleed when it rains. Find out if that story is true or not and come visit the old rock. See, I like old urban legend stories like that. They're pretty cool. Excuse me. Let's get on with the next one. All right, the next one is called The Courtyard. The fine dining Alpina establishment is a favorite amongst locals for diner and drinks, and is another place that is not well known for being haunted amongst the public. However, servers of the Courtyard have had their own paranormal experiences to share. One server was preparing the tables and lighting candles before the restaurant was due to open in 15 minutes. When out of the corner of her eyes she saw a man in a top hat sitting at a table. So she finished what she was doing and started to walk over to the table. But he was gone when she got there. A bartender told her the story of how a regular customer who always sat in that same spot had passed away. One day she was walking around the corner and heard the wind chimes go off above the doorway. And heard a bar stool scrape across the floor as if someone had a seat. Upon going back to the bar area, there was nobody there. There was nobody there, and there with the expansion. There was nobody there sitting in a chair at the bar stool, but the bar stool was pulled up like somebody had came along and sat there. One pulled up one bar stool among a row of nicely pushed ones. So basically, this bar stool was kind of sitting out in a row and kind of got pulled up to the bar like it was someone was going to sit down and have a seat there. Okay, let's do our next story. All right, our next story is the Thunder Bay Lighthouse. What is it with lighthouses and hauntings? Some say the ghost and the lighthouse go together like peas and carrots due to the lonely state of the keepers who maintain them. The fateful shipwrecks caused by their failure. It is believed that the Thunder Bay Lighthouse is haunted by the ghost of Morgan, a former keeper who died of loneliness. Morgan still roams the shoreline of Thunder Bay Island to this day and can be heard walking up and down the stairs, counting on his keepers or continuing on his keeper's duties in the afterlife. So go check out that Thunder Bay Lighthouse if you ever need to. Tell me about it. Sounds pretty creepy. Like I said, these are a lot of short ones, so we'll get to the next one. All right, our next story is the former State Theater. Yet another location in our historic downtown Alpine. These buildings, like the others, is very old, and sometimes they can come with more characters or caricature than what you see on the big screen. One employee told this story of how one night he was closing up theater around 2 a.m. when he went up to go into the women's bathroom to clean when he saw the stall door closing, with fingers pulling it shut. He stepped back outside to wait for the woman to leave. But after about 20 minutes of waiting outside the bathroom, he called out, "Is anyone in there?" With no response, he peeked inside in the stall. He peeked inside the stall, and the stall door was wide open with nobody inside. But there are also stories about a little girl that can be seen from time to time sitting above the stairway. So, if you're ever around this theater, go check it out, because it sounds pretty creepy, guys. The Nagawan State Park. Its beautiful rustic land is also infused with a long Native American history. Although we have not heard of any specific hauntings or haunted areas, we have heard of fishermen and campers who get the overall feeling of unease when wandering around at night. This could be due to the fact that this historic area is also the home of a Native American burial grounds. So, you gotta watch where you build stuff, and don't be building it on burial grounds where it's Native American grounds, or it's just regular cemeteries. Just don't build on them. Leave them alone. That's what I gotta say. You don't mess with them, especially the Indian cemeteries. You leave them alone. But let's get on with the next one. Our next one is the Birdsong Bay. Have you ever wondered how Birdsong Bay got its name? There once was a Native American maiden named Birdsong who fell in love with a handsome brave named Standing Bear. During the autumn, or a moon of the falling leaves, Standing Bear went fishing with other members of the tribe and was caught in a notorious Lake Huron storm, never to return again. Birdsong wept and mourned for an entire year, until the next moon of the falling leaves, where she went back to the bay and never returned. Her wallowing stopped, and the tribe was happy that Birdsong and Standing Bear were reunited again. What? Okay, where was I at? Reuniting again. However, when the next full moon occurred, Birdsong's mournful wailing was heard again. Thus, this bay was given the name Morning Squaw Bay, and it was later shortened to Squaw Baby, and more recently changed to Birdsong Bay. Have you ever heard of the morning of birdsong while standing at the bay? Okay. Well, they're saying if you want to find out more of that story, there's Stories in the Red People Have Told and More by Robert E. Halter. So go check that guy's books out. But that seems like a scary, pretty spooky place too. And a lot of these places I cover, a lot of them start out because of lovers. Say either the husband or the male lover went off and got killed, or the female went off and did something and got killed. But they always lose their lover, or so yeah. All right, let's get ready. All right, our next one is the Alpine Ghost Ship. There's not. This is not located in the Alpine area, but since its Alpine namesake was figured, this story would be a good one to tell you as well. On October 5th of 1880, the steamboat, the Alpine, set out from Grand Haven to Chicago on a warm Indian summer night. With 80 passengers and 22 crew aboard, this Indian summer night turned cold and stormy as temperatures quickly dropped below zero. The Alpine was torn apart in what later became known as the worst gale in Lake Michigan history. Deeming the name the Big Blow, the wreckage of the Alpine was found amongst 70 miles of Michigan beaches along the thousands of booming apples in the water, which the steamboat was carrying. To this day, some sailors swear that they had the Alpine they can see the Alpine on a misty night in the waters of Lake Michigan. A ghost ship in the night. Now that'd be pretty creepy, seeing a ghost ship. Yeah, that would definitely creep out my bones. All right, guys, I'm going to cover these last couple stories that are urban legends and, campfire stories. Okay. So, let's read these stories and see what happens. All right. Okay, let's get on with our first story. All right. This little urban legend is called the Golden Hand. He never paid much attention to the neighbors living on his city block until the day the pretty middle-aged widow moved in 2 doors down from him. She was plump and dark with sparkling eyes, and she always wore dark gloves on her hands, even indoors. He went out of his way to meet her. Excuse me. And they often bumped into each other. They often bumped into each other in the streets and stood talking. One day, as she brushed the hair back from her forehead, he got a glimpse of gold under the glove on her right arm. When he asked her about it, she grinned curiously and told him that she had lost one hand a few years back and now wore a golden hand in its place. In the moment, a terrible lust woke in his heart, not to possess the lady herself, but to possess the solid gold hand that she wore under the long black glove. He courted the widow with every moment known to him. Flowers, trips to the theater, gifts, compliments, and he won her heart within a month. They were standing in front of a minister, promising to love each other until the death do. They promised to love one another until death parted them. Within another month, he was a widower and had buried his ailing wife in the local cemetery without her golden hand. It had been so easy a slow poison administered daily to resemble a wasting disease. No one, not even his wife, not the family doctor, and their neighbors suspected murder. In the night after the funeral, he slept with the golden hand under his pillow. It was a dark night. Clouds covered the room, and the wind was whistling down the chimney and rattling the shutters of the townhouse. He was deeply asleep when the door to his room slammed open with a loud bang and a wild wind whipping around the room, scattering papers and books and clothing and table covers every which way. He sat up, startled by the sudden noise, and his pulse began to pound when he saw a greenish white light bombing slowly into the room. Before his eyes, the light slowly grew larger, taking on the shape of his dead wife. She was missing one arm. "Where is my gold hand?" she moaned. Her dark eyes blazed with red fire. "Give me my hand." He tried to speak, but his mouth was dry with fear that he could not only make a soft gasping noise, the glowing phantom moving closer to him. Her once lovely face twisted into a horrendous green mask. "You stole my life. You stole my hand. Give me back my golden hand." The dead wife howled. The noise rose higher and higher, and the phantom pulsed with a strident green light that smolted his eyes, making them watery. He cowered back against his pillow, and then heard a shape of the. Okay. He covered his back against his pillow, and the hard shape of the golden hand pressed against his back. And then he felt the golden glove hand twitch underneath him as the managedly green phantom that had been his wife swooped down upon him, pressing his face against the pillow and against his throat, cutting his breath. The world went black. The next morning, when the housemaid came into the room in her master's morning cup of tea, she found him laying dead on the floor with the golden hand clutched around his throat. Well, well, well. That just goes to show you. You shouldn't do people wrong like that, 'cause karma will come back and get your ass every time. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but that guy kind of deserved it. If he married her just for her fucking hand and then thought he was going to cash it in, she said, give me my hand back. All right, let's get another folklore. The next one is called The Woman Hitchhiker, or The Hitchhiking Woman. Tom had just left a party and was driving down a dark road all by himself. It was about 12:30 at night and pouring down rain. He had only driven about 2 miles when he saw this faint figure walking on the side of the road. As he got closer, he realized it was a young lady, and she was wearing a long white dress. He pulled over and asked her if she would like a ride. She said she would, and she hopped in the front seat. He noticed she was shivering from the rain, so he took off his jacket and offered it to her. She draped the jacket over her shoulders, and they started to talk about nothing in particular. When Tom pulled up to her house, he turned to her to ask her something, but she was gone. Puzzled, he thought maybe she had already ran into her house. The following day, Tom realized that the girl had left in such a rush that she forgot to give back his jacket. He remembered where her house was and drove there since he did not have a phone number to call. He knocked on the door and an older woman answered. Tom told her he was there to pick up his jacket that her daughter had from the night before. The woman looked at him strangely and told him that he must have the wrong house. The man was sure that this was the right place. He dropped off the girl, so he began to describe her and what she was wearing. The old lady was shaken and began to cry. She explained that her only daughter died 10 years ago on prom night, and that the man had described her exactly. She said her daughter was her daughter was burned up was buried up the road at Meadowwood Cemetery. After Tom left the old lady's house, he decided to go to find the girl's grave. There, lying on her headstone, was his jacket. Now that's some creepy shit. I would really poop my pants. I would definitely not take that coat back. I would leave it there and just let her have it. All right, y'all ready for some more? All right, our next one is The Hook. I know you guys remember this. And the first time I heard this story, I was in the, I want to say third grade, I think. The reports had been on the radio all day. Though she did not, although she had not paid much attention to them, some crazy man had escaped from the state asylum. They were calling him the Hook Man, since he had lost his right arm and had it replaced with a hook. He was a killer, and everyone in the region was warned to keep watch and report anything suspicious. But this did not interest her. She was more worried about what to wear on her date that night. After several constellation calls with friends, she chose a blue outfit in the very latest style and was ready and waiting on the porch when her boyfriend came to pick her up in his car. They went to the drive-in movie with another couple, then dropped them off and went parking in the local lovers lane. If you don't know where that is, back in the day, that's where the teenagers would go and park, and it was an excuse to have a makeout session. So it was a place to make out with your girlfriend. That's all it was. They used to call the places Makeout Point in some places, or just different things. But that's basically what it was for teenagers to go get a kiss up on their boyfriends and girlfriends. Okay. They went to the drive-in. They dropped him off in parking at Lover's Lane. Okay. The blue outfit was a hit, and she cuddled close to her boyfriend as they kissed to the sound of romantic music on the radio. Then the announcement came on the radio, repeated the warning she heard that afternoon. An insane killer with a hook in place of his right hand was loose in the area. Suddenly, the dark, moonless night did not seem so romantic to her. The Lover's Lane was scheduled and off the beaten track. A perfect spot for a deranged madman to lurk, she thought, pushing her amorous boyfriend away. Maybe we should get out of here, she said. The Hook Man sounds dangerous. Aw, come on, babe. It's nothing, her boyfriend said, trying to get in another kiss. She pushed him away again. Not really. We're all alone out here. I'm scared, she said. Or her boyfriend was saying, no, really, we're all alone out here. And she was still scared. They argued for a moment, then the car shook a bit as if something or someone had touched it. She gave a shriek and said, get us out of here now. Geez, her boyfriend said in disgust, but he turned the key and it went roaring out of Lover's Lane. And he went screeching out of Lover's Lane with his tires smoking. They drove home in stony silence. And when they pulled into her driveway, he refused to help her out of the car. He was being so unreasonable. She fumed to herself. She opened the door indirectly and stepped out into her driveway. With her chin up and her lips set, whirling away, she slammed the door as hard as she could, and then she screamed. Her boyfriend leaped up out of the car and caught her in his arms. Wait, or what is it? What is wrong? He shouted. Then he saw it. A bloody hook hung from the handle of the passenger side door. Dun dun dun. How I heard the story, that all happened. They heard a bump, and then he stopped to go to the store and maybe get him something to drink. And he went to the store, and he said when he was walking away from the car, went to the store, paid for his stuff. When he came back, he seen the hook on the car. Now that's the ending I heard. Of course, that story's been around for years. For years. All right, let's get on with our next one. This one is entitled True Love's Kiss. Not wanting to leave you too freaked out about our great state, our list ends with an urban legend that will make you feel good. At least 3 universities have versions of this story, and it's likely that many more have something similar. At Michigan State University, the gorgeous Beaumont Tower stands above the trees in the middle of the North Campus. The spot itself has its own historic value, but today's legend involves a kiss in the courtyard. A couple who kisses at that spot, either in the tower's shadows or the stroke of midnight, a disdain to marry. One is only a true Spartan once they have kissed under the tower. Each entrance to the University of Michigan has its own charm, but the engineering arch has a special romantic importance. The legend is that college sweethearts who kiss under the arch at midnight will be destined to marry. This is more common as mythical than practice, but it's popular place to alumni to go for wedding or engagement photos. The 7-foot-tall Central Michigan University seal has stood in front of the Warner Hall for generations. For just as long, there has been a legend that anyone who kisses their lover in front of this seal at the stroke of midnight and under a full moon, they will be together forever and destined to marry. And just when you thought you were done with ghost stories, the myth involves 2 crazed lovers who were supposed to meet under the seal at midnight to run away to get secretly married. The girl arrived early to wait patiently. While the night kept coming colder and colder, the boy's car broke down, and he was delayed several hours. He arrived to find her still there, frozen to death, and determined to wait for him until the very end. As she cried and sobbed, and sobbed her into his arms. As he cried and sobbed her into his arms, he kissed her. He kissed her one last time and died of a broken heart. It's said that the lovers were reunited in the afterlife, and their spirit visits the seal at midnight to bless lovers at their altar. Oh, how sweet of him. All right, we got one more, and it's a shorty. All right, here we go. This one is called Torch Lake Monster. With all this talk of bizarre things let me start over again. With all this talk of bizarre things on or in the water, excuse me, where was I freaking at? It makes you wonder, while it makes you wonder what else might be down there. One famous lake monster somewhere in the deep, clear waters of Torch Lake has been preying on unsuspecting visitors and campers of the local YMCA camp. Hoya went Haya for has been there for generations. Dave Foley, a counselor at the camp in the 1960s and 70s, took credit for starting the myth, which was later publicized in a song following the counselor and folk musician Bob Thorsten. One eye, one eye is brown, and one eye is blue. One-eyed, one-haired. I wonder if that's the monster they're talking about. Okay, one eye is brown and one eye is blue. His body covered all in icky green goo. The lyrics say. The presence of a 50-pound muskie in the lake likely contributed to its tale. But another legend speaks of the sea panther, claiming that Torch Lake contains a monster with the head of a cat and a body of a lizard. Did Foley make up a monster story to entertain campers? We'll never know. And I take that back. I have one more after this one, and this is it. All right, our last story is Le Griffon Shipwreck. Between the Upper Peninsula and Green Bay, there is a chain of small islands in Lake Michigan. Somewhere in these is a mysterious shipwreck that is considered a historic holy grail. The first full-size cargo ship to sail the entire Great Lakes, Le Griffon, was built by explorer Robert de la Salle in 1679. The ship was a work of art, featuring a magnificent griffin figured on its front and an eagle on its stern. La Griffin started her maiden voyage up the Niagara River to Lake Erie, gave Lake St. Clair its name while passing into Lake Horn, and stopped in Mackinac City for Sunday Mass before landing at Washington Island. At the mouth of Green Bay, there in the crew loaded the ship to the brim with valuable furs and other goods, while La Salle stayed ashore to make plans for the future exploration west. La Griffin departed for a return trip to Niagara slightly more than a month after its initial departure. Unfortunately, the ship and crew were never seen or heard from again. Many assumed that the Le Griffin was lost during a fierce storm shortly after leaving port. Others report that the ship was boarded and burned down or destroyed. This could have been the work of rival fur traders. Local Native American tribes are nearby Jesuits. Olive Horn were threatened by La Salle's plans for western expansion. La Salle believed that the weary crew who had been forced to build the ship in harsh winter conditions with limited resources and under the constant threat of attack had finally been convinced to mutiny by the mutiny by the untrustworthy pilot. He figured that they made off with the cargo before sinking the ship. We may never know what happened to the La Griffin, and only clues lie in the remains that many never have found. And some say on a good, clear night, you can still see that ship. Well, guys, I'm glad this one was longer, but it's late. I'm ready to get out of here. I'm ready to go chill out for a bit, and we will see you cool cats later. Until next time, I'll see you later, man. Bye. Oh, don't worry. Be scary. And like I said, keep telling your friends about the show. Numbers are growing and getting bigger, and I thank you for it. And just keep listening and go check out the YouTube page too, guys. Love you. Appreciate you. Thanks for all the love and support. And I got more of these campfire stories to talk about. So until then, be scary. We'll see you later. This has been Stephen LeBooth for Ghost Stories Told from the South. Bye-bye.